Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Brahmastra Series. Good evening, everybody. So, today's topic is Hardy-Weinberg Equilibrium. Hardy-Weinberg Equilibrium is a very important portion from population genetics, which is a part of Unit 11, Evolution and Behavior. Although population genetics is a part of genetics only, and most of and in like when you are trying to read about it or learn about Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, the best place is to look for any standard genetics books, because that is where you will get the detailed information about population genetics as well as Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Now, Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium we study in evolution, because when we say evolution, it is a process of change. Now, when there is changes are happening in the way in the phenotypes of an individual, so there will be corresponding changes happening in the genotypes of the population as well. So, population genetics does not study the genetics at individual level, but it studies the genetics of the whole population. Okay, and as evolution happens, as the variations or the most popular or the most frequent phenotype or genotype in the population changes, the genetic structure of the population changes. Okay, now in that course, there are five different evolutionary forces which acts to change the genetic structure. Now, Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium says that in case those five evolutionary forces are not working, okay, then what will happen? Definitely, there will be no change in the genetic structure of the population, right? Like you have a car. So if you are pushing the car, if you are exerting force on the car, then only the car will move. If you are not pushing the car, not putting any force, then the car will stay there only, right? So in the same way, when we have a stable genetic structure of the population, so that genetic structure will remain same if there are no evolutionary forces acting on it. Okay, so in this case, now Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is also related to one of the to the calculations where we calculate the genetic structure depending on the allelic frequency and genotype frequency, and questions from there are very frequently asked. So today I have some collection of questions in that has been asked in CSIR NET Part C section over the last 10-15 years. Okay, I have collected some questions and I have brought it here. So around 10 questions approximately we will discuss in the session, and along with that, as you know, at the end of the session you will be getting a free document of 5 extra questions along with their explanations. Okay, so everybody stay tuned, and I hope all of you are ready with your pen and pencil, because today you have to solve with me. So I hope that all of you are ready with pen and pencil to solve the question and answer properly. Yes, are you all ready? Can I have some BIOs? Bring it on. Okay, let's get started. So Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, as I was saying, that questions from there very frequently asked. There are two kinds of questions which come. Either the statement-based question, something like this, or a question can be numerical type, okay, where you have to do some calculation. Now, when you have to do the calculation, so usually there will be basic calculation of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, along with that square root. That is again a function that might you have to use. Okay, so in case so it's better to practice that square root process also. Okay, like in case the calculators are not there, so definitely you should be able to do that. So very first question, this is statement based question, and these questions are very easy actually if you understand the concept of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. And the only thing will be that you have to understand it properly. Okay, because otherwise so if you do that, then the questions are very easy and can be solved in less than 30 seconds. Okay, so in yesterday's webinar, I hope all of you attended. So I told you about the questions. The first questions that you should solve is the ones which you can solve in a glance. Okay, so definitely questions from Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium are like that. Okay, so let's have a look. The Hardy-Weinberg principle states that allele frequencies in the population will remain constant over generations if certain assumptions are met. Now, A, B, C, D, E, F, there are six criteria are given. Which of the above factor will cause change in the allele frequencies over generation? Okay. Now, here it is very important to understand the question, because the question is easy, but understanding it is little difficult because they have twisted the language. So here are they are saying that Hardy-Weinberg principle assumptions are there, but question is not asking you for the Hardy-Weinberg principles assumptions. It is asking which of the factors will cause change in the allele frequency. Means it is asking for the criteria which are not assumptions of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay, see, if you don't read the question correctly, you will just say that, okay, I have to find out the assumptions of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. No, this part is the most important, which is saying that you have to find out the factors which will cause change in the allele frequency. So if there are factors which are assumptions of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, that will make that will keep the allele frequency safe, right? So you have to look for the factors which will cause change in the allele frequencies. Means you have to find out the factors which are not an assumption of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay, so what is the statement of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? It says that for an infinitely large randomly mating population, the genetic structure, that is allele frequency and genotype frequency, will remain same if there is no migration, no mutation, and no natural selection. Okay, so assumptions are no migration, no mutation, no natural selection. Population is large so that the effect of genetic drift can be minimal, and the population is randomly mating. Okay, so five criteria. Now let's have a look. So randomly mating is a criteria of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So this will not change the allele frequency. Okay. Mate choice, yes. So if there is mate choice, means the mating is non-random, and in case of non-random mating, the allele frequency will change. Okay, so this is one of the non-assumptions. Small population size, yes, if the population size is small, then there will be more effect of genetic drift. Okay, and that also is not an assumption. Large population is an assumption. Lack of mutations, yes, it is an assumption. Directional selection means what? Simple, natural selection only. It's a type of natural selection. Okay, so natural selection present means again it is not an assumption. So what are the non-assumptions? B, C, and F. So answer is option 4. Okay, let's move on. So now we have a question from December 2019. Okay, so you will see that this time actually, that's why I have mentioned the years also where the question has come, so that you can see that every year, every session, almost there is at least one question from this topic. Yeah. Okay, so the frequency of homozygotes in a diploid population is 0.68. Assuming that the population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, the frequencies of two alleles are. Come on, everyone, I want you to solve it with me, because when you are solving it, then you will get to know, like, if you are getting the correct answer, excellent. And if you are not able to get it correct, then I will show you, you will find where is your mistake. So everybody, please solve. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Solve this question and then let me know if you are done. Yes, is there anybody who has solved? Frequency of homozygotes in a diploid population is given. Assuming that the population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, the frequency of two alleles are. Okay, so what is the question? So question here is saying, so first of all, what is it asking you to find out? Frequency of two alleles means in terms of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, it is asking you what is the value of P, what is the value of Q. Okay, now what is given to you? Frequency of homozygotes. Okay, 2pq, if you say 2pq is frequency of heterozygote, that is not the frequency of homozygote. Okay, see, for example, if I say that this is yeah, so if I say that this is gene A, okay, so this gene A can exist in two alleles, capital A, which is dominant, small a, which is recessive. Okay, so then there are three genotypes possible. So what are the possible genotypes? They are capital A, capital A, capital A, small a, and small a, small a. Okay, so when it is saying frequency of homozygotes, means it is saying frequency of capital A plus small a, small a. That is equal to 0.68. Okay, so that is given to you. Now, how are you going to use it to find out the frequency of P and Q? Okay, so for that, see, in a population, individuals are either homozygotes or heterozygotes. Is there any other third option? Not at all. Okay, so ideally, frequency of homozygotes plus frequency of heterozygotes will be equal to 1. Okay, now because frequency of homozygotes is given to you, so what do you expect to be the frequency of heterozygote? 1 minus frequency of homozygote. Now, how much is the frequency of homozygote? 0.68. So instead of this, just substitute 0.68. Okay. So frequency of heterozygote becomes 0.32. Okay. Now, see, this is a type of question. So I think I have told you before also. Let me repeat that many questions, okay, it will help you because it is a multiple choice. So the options are going to tell you in which direction you have to think. So this is a typical kind of question which you can answer much faster by utilizing the options that are given here. So if frequency of heterozygote is 0.32, okay, now what is the other formula for frequency of heterozygote for a population which is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? It is 2pq. Correct? So what you can do is check for each of these options. So one is P, one is Q. Check for each of these options if 2pq is coming to be 0.32. Okay. So you will see that in none of the options apart from option 2, where 0.32 is coming as 2pq. Okay, so only when p is equal to 0.2, so just substitute here 2 multiplied by 0.2 multiplied by 0.8, then only you are getting 0.32. Okay, for all other ones it is not 0.32. Okay, so that's why answer will be option 2. So as I told you that when you use this method where you are reverse engineering the solution, right? So options are given, check out the options whether they are suitable or they are giving the expected frequency of heterozygote or not. Okay, so that is how you can solve it very, very quickly. Okay, another question, next question coming from December 2016. Now, this question is really extremely easy, and those of you who have practiced even a few questions of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium also, you will agree that this is an extremely easy question, although it was given in part C. Okay, so again, don't think that all part C questions are difficult. It's not like that. There are questions which are pretty easy also, and it can be solved in very less time. So this question says that red hair in a recessive trait in is a recessive trait in humans. In a randomly mating population in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, approximately 9% of the individuals are red haired. What is the frequency of heterozygote? So when you have 9% of the individual to be red haired, and red hair is a recessive trait. Okay. So just for example, if I say that this is gene R, which has two allele, capital R and small r. So frequency of small r, smaller. Okay. So what it will be? That only will be the frequency of red hair. Okay. Because small r will give this phenotype of red hair. Okay. So what is the frequency of heterozygote? So frequency of red hair is given as how much? 9%. Okay. So, and in terms of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, what do we know? That this frequency of small r is Q. Frequency of small r is considered as Q. So frequency of homozygous recessive will be nothing but Q square. Okay. So Q square is equal to 9%. Okay. So if you convert this 9% into decimal, it will become 0.09. Now, doing square root of 0.09 is extremely easy. So Q will be equal to 0.3. Now, when Q is equal to 0.3, P will be equal to 1 minus Q. Why? Because P plus Q is equal to 1. Okay. So P is equal to 1 minus Q. So P will become 0.7. Okay. Now, what is the frequency of heterozygote? So frequency of heterozygote is calculated by 2PQ. Frequency of heterozygote is calculated by 2PQ. So 2 multiplied by 0.3 multiplied by 0.7. Okay. So that will come as 0.42, which is equal to 42%. Okay. Answer option 3. I'm very sure all of you will be able to do this. This question is that very easy. Okay. So before we go ahead, as you all know, Lakshya batch in Biotecnika is going to start very soon. It has started. New batch are getting launched. With every Lakshya batch, you are going to get a free molecular biology internship where you will get the understanding of basic molecular biology along with the advanced and the modern techniques of molecular biology, along with all other features that you get in the in Biotecnika classes. So any information, any that you any more information that you need regarding it, this is the toll-free number where you can contact us. Okay, moving on to next question. Color blindness affects approximately 1 in 12% men. Okay, which is 8%. In a population that is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, where 8% of men are colorblind due to a sex-limited recessive gene, what proportion of women are expected to be carriers? Okay. Now, this is a tricky question, and for answering this question, you should have a good idea or good background on the difference between autosomal genes and X-linked genes. Okay. So this color blindness, the gene which is responsible for color blindness, it's an X-linked gene. X-linked gene means it is present on X chromosome. Okay, now this gene is so very popular that even if it is not mentioned that it is X-linked, still you should know that it is X-linked and the color blindness happens because of the recessive allele. Okay, so here we have 1 in 12 men who are colorblind. So in the population that is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, where 8% of the men are colorblind due to sex-linked recessive gene, what proportion of women are expected to be carriers? Okay. Now see, in case of men, what happens is men are going to have this genotype of X and Y chromosome, one X and one Y chromosome. Okay. Now, because men have only one X chromosome, so all the genes present on X chromosome will be present in a single copy. So when we talk about the frequency of allele of a gene that is present on X chromosome in men, then its frequency is same as, so the genotype frequency in men for a gene that is present on X chromosome will be same as its allelic frequency in the population. Okay, although for other in case of other genes or the autosomal genes, that does not happen, because then there is homozygous dominant, the homozygous recessive, heterozygote. Okay, so that is how it will change. But in here it is different. Okay, why is it different? Because in this case, we have the men are going to have only a single copy of a allele, and whatever allele they have, it will be expressed. Okay, so that's why whatever is the frequency of genotype in men, okay, for all X-linked genes, okay, that only will be the frequency of that allele in the whole population. Okay, so if one person in 12 men, that is 8% people are affected, 8% men are affected with color blindness, means frequency of this allele of color blindness, okay, which let's say X small c, okay, that will be equal to Q, which will be equal to 8% only. Okay, so what is 8%? 0.08. Okay, now when it is Q, as we have got as 0.08, okay, so next step will be what? Next step will be finding out what is Q, sorry, what is P. So P will be equal to 1 minus Q. So 1 minus 0.08, which comes as 0.92. So now you have got P and Q. What will be the proportion of women as expected as carriers? Okay, so for women, now the situation will be different, because in case of women, individual can be homozygous dominant, can be recessive, or can be heterozygote. Okay, so it will be similar to how the autosomal genes will be there and how we calculate their frequencies in women. But in men, the situation is different. Okay, so this situation, that is frequency of genotype in men for X-linked trait, is equal to frequency of the allele in the population. So if 8% men are affected with color blindness, means color blindness happens because of the X-linked recessive allele. So frequency of the recessive allele itself is 8%. Okay, so from there we calculated the value of P. Once we have got P, now sorry, I'm so sorry, there's a mistake here. Okay, so the mistake is that when we have uh, Q, right, so Q is 0.8%. Okay, so this is Q, yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah, so Q itself is 0.8. Yeah, that was correct actually. So 1 minus 0.8, sorry, 0.08, so that comes as 0.92. Okay, so P is equal to 0.92. Now what will be the value of heterozygote women? So that will be same as 2PQ. Okay, so 2 multiplied by 0.92 multiplied by 0.08. Okay, so when you solve everything, your answer will be 0.15. I hope, is it clear, everyone? Okay. Next question from December 2014. In a random sample of 400 individuals from a population with alleles of a trait in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, 36 individuals are homozygous for allele small a. How many individuals in the sample are expected to carry at least one allele of capital A? Yes, your 2 minutes start now. Come on, I'm not getting any answer from anybody. See, try to solve it. I can show you 100 questions also how to solve. But until and unless you solve it yourself, you will not gain the confidence that you can solve it on your own. Right. So for this question, excuse me. So how many individuals in the sample are expected to carry at least one allele, that is capital A? Okay. So for this question, you have 400 individuals. So this question is so easy. There are 400 total individuals. 36 individuals are homozygous for allele small a. Okay. So 36 has, so when you have a population for a gene which can exist in two alleles, capital A and small a. So there are only three possible genotypes, capital A, capital A, small a, and small a, small a. Okay. So out of 400, there are 36 individuals who are having homozygous recessive genotype. Okay. So frequency of this is 36 by 400. Now, question is how many individuals in the sample are expected to carry at least one capital A allele? Okay. So when you have this condition, at least one capital A allele, what does it mean? It means two things. Either the individual carries two capital A allele or one capital A and other small a allele. Okay, so the individuals who are expected to carry at least one allele of capital A means they have either the genotype of capital A or capital A small a. Okay, now in a population, anyways, if you know the number of homozygous recessive, rest of the population will either be homozygous dominant or heterozygote, right? So basically, if you just number, you don't have to go for frequency. So if you have number of homozygous dominant plus number of heterozygote plus number of homozygous recessive, that will be equal to total population, right? Number of homozygous recessive is given to you, that is 36. Total population 400 again given to you. So from there, what will be the how many individuals, okay, again number only is asking, are expected to carry at least one capital A allele? So this is the portion which will carry at least one capital A allele. Okay, how you can calculate? Extremely easy. That will be equal to 400 minus 36. Okay, so that will be equal to 364. Extremely easy. You don't have to do multiplication, you don't have to do square root, you don't have to do division, nothing. That easy this question is. All right, moving on. Now this question definitely I would like all of you to try. Just give it a try, guys. So this is a question where it includes alleles not only of two type but three. Okay. See, Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, even though the general understanding of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, if you say, so it will consider only two alleles. So a gene has two different alleles. One allele will be dominant, one allele is recessive. Frequency of one allele is P, frequency of one allele is Q. And when we talk about the genotype frequencies, it will be P square, 2PQ, and Q square. Okay. But Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is not limited to only two allele situation. It can be extrapolated to three alleles, four alleles, or more. Okay. So in that case, in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, the general thing is P plus Q is equal to 1. Okay. So when there are more alleles, so we just have to introduce one more term. So in this question, it is talking about ABO blood group. So ABO blood group we know is there are three alleles. ABO blood group is an example of multiple alleles. And there are three alleles which are included here: IA, IB, and IO. Correct? So what will be this IO? So here we have to introduce three terms. So instead of just P plus Q equal to 1, it will become P plus Q plus R equal to 1. Okay. So let's suppose frequency of IA allele is equal to P. Frequency of IB allele equal to Q. Frequency of IO allele equal to R. Okay, so this is the assumption that we have to work with. So this will be our first assumption. Okay, yes, now can you guys try to solve it? I'm giving you 2 minutes to solve. If you have finished solving it, please let me know what is the answer, do you think? Or what answer are you getting? Please let me know. Okay, I hope everyone is paying attention here and you will see how to solve this question. Sampling of 200 person from for their ABO blood group was done from an urban area. The types of blood group observed in the given population are as follows. Capital A 60, so A blood group 60, B blood group 32, AB blood group 10, and O blood group 98. Which of the following gives the correct frequency of blood group determining alleles IA, IB, and IO in the given population? Okay. So for this, first thing is, as we always do with the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium or a population which is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, that we will start with the recessive allele. Okay. So we know that for ABO blood group, A and B are codominant, but IO allele is recessive to both A and B. Okay. So anybody who has O blood group can have only one genotype, which is IO and IO. Okay, so IO alleles frequency we have considered as R. Okay, so this frequency of O blood group, that is frequency, so what it will be, frequency of IO, what it will be, R square. How much will it be? 98 divided by 200. Okay, so when you solve it, it comes as 0.49. So when R square is equal to 0.49, means how much will be R? That will be equal to 0.7. Okay, so you have got one value that is of R, which is equal to 0.7. Okay, so R is equal to, R is the frequency of IO. So IO alleles frequency is 0.7. Okay, so when you check this, remember I told you solve a question in part. So when you solve this part, check the options. Option 2, eliminate it. There is no uh, r is not equal to 0.7. Okay, right. Now moving on. So now in the next step, you can either consider the people who are showing B blood group, or you can consider the people who are showing A blood group. Okay, so let me take the individuals who are showing A blood group. Okay, so first of all, you have to decide who all will show A blood group. Okay, what all genotypes will show A blood group? Individuals who had IAIA, okay, plus individuals who are IAIO, okay, because O is recessive to A as well. So IAIA having this genotype, or the individuals who have this genotype of IAIO will show A blood group. Okay. Now, how many people are there like that? It is 60. Okay. Now, if you consider the frequency of A blood group, so how much it becomes? 60 divided by 200. Okay. So that comes as 0.3. Right. Now, consider A blood group plus O blood group. Okay. So, frequency of A plus O blood group. Okay. So, we know that A blood group is shown by this two genotype. Okay. So, what will be the frequency of this? If we have considered that frequency of IA is P, so frequency of homozygous dominant will be P square. Frequency of heterozygote will be equal to 2PQ, but in this case not Q, but IO alleles frequency is R, so 2PR. Okay. Plus who all will be O blood group? The individual who are homozygous recessive. That is IO means we are talking about R square. Okay. What will be this value? So this total is 0.3. Okay. And R square is how much? So R square we know is 98 by 200, which is equal to 0.49. Okay. So how do we solve it? P plus R whole square, right? Because this is just the expansion of the formula P plus R whole square. So we will convert it into P plus R whole square, which will be equal to 0.79. Okay. So now R's value we know, which was equal to 0.7. Okay. So you can substitute it here and solve. Okay. So when you do this, so first of all, like the square root of 0.79, you have to calculate, which will which will come as 0.89. Okay. And then finally, when you solve for P, after substituting the value of R as 0.7, so P will be equal to 0.19. Okay. So you have got P as 0.19. Now, as soon as you get P as 0.19, so there is only one option with this. Okay. But still, let's have a check as well. Okay, so finding Q's value is now very, very easy because we know that P plus Q plus R will be equal to 1. Okay, so Q will be equal to how much? 1 minus P plus R. Okay, so P plus R is already equal to 0.89, we know. Okay, so when you substitute it here, Q becomes equal to 0.11. Okay, so answer is option 1. I hope all of you follow it. See, the best way to check whether you have understood it or not is by trying to solve it on your own. Okay, so I'll suggest I give the same suggestion to everybody in the class as well, and to all of you also, that after the session is over, please take up this question and try to solve it on your own. Okay, in case you are not able to find this question, so you just play this PPT, this session recording only from YouTube, but pause it where I just show you the question. Okay, pause at that place you and try to solve it. So in case you are not able to solve, definitely you can again play the video and see how I am solving it. Okay, and then solve it with me. But one more time, after you think that you have understood everything, give it a break of a couple of hours and then again see whether you are able to solve it on your own. Okay, so solving it on your own is the most important part, because that is when you will know whether you have actually understood it or not. Okay, so once you have understood this concept, so whether they give you different numbers, whether they give you a different trait where there are, instead of 3 alleles there are 4 alleles or 5 alleles, I'm sure you are going to solve everything correctly. Okay, so first, the most recessive one, you find out its frequency, then you take any one dominant and the recessive, okay, and solve equation like that, and you will be able to solve this kind of multiple alleles question as well, very easy. Right, now moving on, here I have got some recent question came in June 2024. Okay, in fact there are two questions which came in June 2024. So first one is this, I'll show you another one also. Yeah. So this question says that in a frog species, foot webbing is controlled by a single gene, where the allele for non-webbed feet is dominant and the webbed feet is recessive. Assuming there is a population of 500 individuals where 320 have genotype WW, capital W, 160 have the heterozygous genotype of capital W small w, and 20 have the genotype of small w. What are the frequencies of the three genotypes and alleles in the population? This question is again very easy, very straightforward. Yes, you have to find out five different variables, okay, or you have to find out five different factors values. But again, when you keep solving it in parts, you will see that you can solve this question very easily. Okay, I'm giving you 2 minutes to solve, but if you go in parts, it should not take more than a minute also. This question is that easy. Any point you guys think that you have got the answer, please feel free and send the answer in the chat. So genotype frequencies and allele frequencies you have to calculate. Genotype frequency is extremely easy to calculate. So frequency of this genotype, what it will be? Number of individuals with this genotype divided by total population. Extremely easy. Okay. What is the number here? 320 divided by total population, which is 500. Okay. So how much it will be? 0.64. Yeah. It is 0.64. So frequency of capital W 0.64. Check the options. Here it is says this one, this, and this. Okay. So you see automatically all other options are eliminated because none of it is saying as 0.64 except option 3. As soon as you determine this, you have got your answer. Do you have to calculate any other values? Ideally, no. Yes, but to confirm that this only is the answer, just go ahead and do calculate the other fact, like 1 or 2 factors, just to confirm that this is the answer. Okay, it won't take more than a minute. It is that easy. So even though in the beginning you will see that there are 5 things you have to calculate, frequency of all the genotypes and the 2 alleles, but you see only one option has this number. Okay, next question. Frequency of heterozygote. How much it will be? 160 divided by 500. Okay, that will come as 0.32. And frequency of homozygous recessive will be equal to 20 divided by 500, which will be 0.04. Okay. Now, once you have got this genotype frequencies, now calculating allele frequency is also very easy. I'm just writing it here only. So frequency of the dominant allele. Okay, so when there are different formulas, right, for calculating allele frequency. So frequency of the dominant allele, okay, that is W. How it will be? It can be calculated from the frequency, from the genotype frequencies also. So frequency of capital W plus half the frequency of capital W small w. Okay, so capital W's genotype frequency is 0.64 plus 0.32 divided by Okay, so when you solve it, this will come as 0.8. So frequency of small w will be how much? 1 minus 0.8. So 0.2. Okay, so answer will be option 3. So I would like to tell you guys once again that if you people are not preparing for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, please do not do this mistake. Try to understand the concept and solve. Few practice just few questions. Okay, I'm very sure the questions, usually the questions which come in the paper, are extremely easy from this segment. So you'll be able to easily solve it. So it can be one of the scoring areas. So please do not skip the questions or this topic. This question came in June 2024, and I will tell you an exact same question. Okay, just instead of cystic fibrosis, it was mentioned that any random disease which is homozygous recessive. Numbers were same, answer was same. The only difference was the options. Okay, what options were given and how jumbled they were. That was the only difference in the question, and the same question came in June 2024 and in December 2023. Okay, now this is a question where I think is the question is not absolutely correct. There is a mistake in it, but still we can give the correct answer. Okay, or reach to the we can go close to the correct answer. So this question says that cystic fibrosis is caused by a recessive allele. Roughly 1 out of every 500 individuals, that is 0.2%, have this disease. Using Hardy-Weinberg equation, the percentage of individuals who are carriers of the recessive allele for the disease is. So what is given to us? 1 out of 500, that is approximately 0. So approximately 0.2% have the disease. Okay. So who will have disease? This is a recessive trait we are talking about. So it will be Q square. So Q square is what? 0.2%. Okay. Convert this percent into decimal. It comes as 0.002. Okay. Now using Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, what percentage of individual who are carriers to the recessive allele? So again, you have to calculate what is the value of 2pq. Okay, so once you have the value of q square, okay, so from here you can calculate the value of q. So value of q will be 0.002 and square root of it. Okay, so that will come as 0.045. Okay, so basically q will be equal to square root of 0.002, which will be equal to 0.045. Okay, so once you calculate the value of q as 0.045, how much will be p? 1 minus 0.045. Will be equal to 0.955. Okay, so once you have the value of p and q, 2pq. So that will come as 0.085. Okay, once you convert it into percentage, means you have to multiply it with 100, will come as 8.5. Okay, now ideally 8.5 is none of the options that are given. Okay, but what is the option which is so if in a case you are getting this kind of situation. Okay, so the best will be, I will say that if you have margin, or if you have other question where you are more confident, or you're closer to the answer, more closer to the answer compared to this, then leave this question. You don't have to attempt it. Remember, in CSIR exam, all questions are not compulsory. You don't have to attempt it. Okay, but in case you are not having any other option, then in that case what you have to do is choose an option which is closest to the value that you have calculated. So 8.5, if you have calculated, so which value is closest to it? It has to be 7.6. Okay, so answer will be 7.6. Now in December 2023 also the same question was asked, and there also answer was given as 7.6 only. Okay, just it was jumbled, and I think it was option 1 that was the answer. All right, so sometimes you have to do this kind of thing when you have to choose an option which is closest to the answer that you think. Next question. Now this is also is from June 2023, and it's a statement based question. So a scientist is using Hardy-Weinberg equation to assess if a population is in equilibrium or is evolving. Okay, she recorded the following characteristics for this population. So there are A, B, C, D, E, 5 characteristics. Which one of the following options contain all incorrect characteristics of a population in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? Okay, so which all assumptions are wrong? So first one says that the size of the population is very large. That is true for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Individuals are randomly mating. Now that also is true for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. It has to be a randomly mating population. Now C says that individuals are under natural selection. Now that is incorrect for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. D says that new alleles are added to the population through migration and dispersal. That also is incorrect because this when new alleles get added, so they change the genetic structure. And D also says that mutation rates are high. So by mutation also it can introduce new alleles in the population, and therefore it is not correct for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay. So what all which one of the following option contain all incorrect characteristics? It will be option number 2, because your answer is C, D, and E. Okay, I hope all of you understood. This is a very important topic. Once again, I'm telling you, Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Just go through the topic, understand the concept of it. The concept is also very simple. Okay, once you are thorough with the concept, is any kind of statement based question comes, you'll be able to answer it. I have shown you in this session many numericals from Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium and how to solve it. Okay, so if you practice those questions, then solving those questions will also become extremely easy. Okay, next question. Now, this is a plot-based question. It is not exactly related to Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, but it is related to population genetics. And it's a graph-based question. Okay. So, question says that a particular behavior variant affects fitness of an organism. The relationship between the frequency of the variant in the population and fitness are plotted below. In which of these cases is the behavioral variant most likely to reach a frequency of 1? See, from Unit 11, graph based questions are very, very common. Okay. So, if you want to answer this question, you should have a strong understanding of how to read a graph. And if you have this strong understanding of how to read a graph, many of these questions you'll be able to answer, even when you are not very confident with the concept behind it. Okay. So, if you have a vague idea about the concept and you are confident in reading a graph, you'll be able to answer. Okay, so what we have, a particular behavioral variant affects the fitness of an organism. Okay, now what is the fitness? Fitness is how best suited the individual is in the population. Okay, in the environment, how best suited it is means how best it will perform in the competition because it has some advantage of a variation. Okay, now relationship between frequency of that variant in the population and fitness are plotted below. In which of these cases is the behavioral variant more likely to reach a frequency of 1? Now for this you should know what do we mean when we are saying a frequency of 1. What is it mean? Frequency of 1, what does it mean? See, suppose if I say what is frequency? Frequency is number of times a event is happening, okay, divided by total number of times it can happen. Okay, so if I am saying that this frequency is coming as 1, when can it come as 1? When denominator and numerator are equal. Okay, means if 10 times the event can happen, all 10 times we are getting this particular outcome, right? That is when frequency becomes 1. So what do we mean by this variant reaching a frequency of 1? Means 100% of the population is having that particular variation. Okay, now for that we have to analyze the graph. So graph A is showing a downward line. What does it mean? That see, x-axis is frequency, y-axis is fitness. So according to graph A, as frequency increases, fitness is decreasing, right? Frequency increases, fitness decreasing. Okay, so as frequency increases, fitness is decreasing. So definitely the population is not going to, the entire population is not going to have this particular variation. For B, we have fitness is constant. Okay, see, fitness is on the y-axis and y-axis value is not changing, it is constant. So fitness is constant even though frequency is increasing. Okay, so if fitness is constant even though frequency is increasing, then also the entire population is not going to have it. Okay, option D, you see, frequency increases, fitness increases, okay, to a mid value, but then after that it reaches a peak, and then after that, as frequency increases, fitness starts getting decreasing. Okay, so that also will not make the entire 100% individual have the variation. Only this situation where frequency increases, that increases the fitness. Okay, so if 4 individuals were in the population, okay, and fitness was 4, let's say, let's give it a value that it is 4. So if 10 individuals will be there, fitness of that particular variation will increase even more, becomes 10. Okay, so as frequency increases, fitness keeps on increasing. So ultimately, the entire population is going to have it, because that is the time it will have the complete fitness, right? Or the highest fitness. Okay. So it is only graph C where the behavioral variant is most likely to reach a frequency of 1. Answer B, right? Okay, so with this, I come to the end of this session. Thank you so much for joining us, and another session, next session, whenever I come, I will try to bring some more questions from the population genetics, not Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Questions from other concepts like genetic drift, like speciation. Okay, so or even I will try to get some questions from the animal behavior, because many graph based questions come from there. So definitely I would like to show you some samples of it so that you start practicing about that. Okay, so here we come to the end, and I will request our technical team to upload the link of the document which you can download. Okay, and there it will have a few more questions, 5 more questions from Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium for your practice along with its explanation. All right. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you everybody for joining, and see you in next session. Stay tuned. Again tomorrow you are going to have Brahmastra session taken by some other faculty. Please join it. Take the maximum benefit of this free question discussion sessions. Thank you everyone. Bye. Have a great day.